1940. The executioner raised his axe, but before it could sever the man's head from his body, the screen crumpled, the lights went out, and the cinema started to fall down around us. I heard myself involuntarily scream, but above the noise I could hear my aunt's voice telling me to get under the seat and pull it down on top of my head. The top part of the seat was a red velvet plush, the underside chewing gummy grey. I crouched down, pulling the seat over my head, and I waited for my life to be extinguished. I stayed there, crying, wetting my pants, wanting it all to end quickly. 11 years old is a little young to die. Keep calm and don't move until directed, the manager of the cinema shouted above the din. There were ominous rumblings and plaster fell from the ceiling onto my velvet cushioned shelter, grazing both my hands. I daren't let go of the seat as it would tip up and leave me exposed. The balcony's going to fall on us, I screamed at my aunt, and she reached out and she patted me. I think it was only a matter of minutes before our section of the cinema was told to get ready to leave where we were hiding and gather into a group at a specified exit and wait for further instructions. It seemed like an eternity. Keep calm, the manager kept shouting, his voice now verging on the hysterical. I've wet myself, I cried to my aunt. She put her head close to mine and whispered, so have I. I was incredulous. I let go of my velvet roof, I grabbed her hand and I kissed it. It just seemed like the proper thing to do at the time. Stay close to me, she warned. We're going to have to make a run for it when we're called. I never stuck so close to anyone before in my life. My aunt was talking about making a run for it, and she'd wet her pants. Two actions that were impossible to associate with this Victorian lady. It made us conspirators. It began to be an adventure, not a nightmare. Now, the manager screamed, and with my aunt almost pulling my arm out of its socket, we dashed from our hiding place into the aisle, down to the exit, and out into the foyer. Except there was no foyer, only debris and dust, so much dust. Coughing and spluttering, we clambered up and over whatever was in front of us, and we sensed rather than saw that we had reached the outside of what was left of the building. We stood for a few seconds on top of the rubble, rubbing the dust from our eyes. Where were we? I looked up at my aunt, and she was mouthing, oh no, oh no, and she reached out and she pulled me to her. Try not to look, just follow me, she said. We have to get home quickly. There was no sidewalk, no road, just piles and piles of rubble. Flickers of flame lit nearby buildings, and from their light I saw people pulling bodies from out beneath the rubble. I was beyond fear. Auntie, where is Woolworths? We'd been there an hour earlier buying chocolate to eat in the cinema. It too had been reduced to a pile of rubble. We lost our sense of direction, and my shoes felt as though they were filled with sand. I hated clambering over the rubble. Maybe someone was underneath. I stumbled, let go of my aunt's hand, and she ran on ahead of me. She was back in seconds, pulling me to my feet and moving quickly forwards. I tried to tell her that my knees were bleeding, but all she would say was, come on, we must get home. The siren started to wail, a sound that has haunted me to this day. I remember thinking they were a bit late with an air raid warning. It was all over. It was time for the all clear. We lived about 3 miles from the cinema, and half walking, half running, we finally reached home.